The lights of the Baton Rouge courthouse flickered like they were catching their breath before the storm. The hallway buzzed with quiet tension, cameras flashing as reporters whispered headlines before they were even written. At the center of it all walked Boosie Badazz, head low, jaw tight, eyes fixed straight ahead. Every step echoed with the weight of a man who had faced the system more times than most could survive. Just a few weeks earlier, Boosie had shocked his fans by pleading guilty to an illegal gun possession charge. For months, the case had dragged on, hearings postponed, lawyers reshuffled, and social media dissecting every detail like it was an episode of reality TV. But when he finally stepped up and said, "I'm ready to get it over with," it didn't sound like defeat. It sounded like exhaustion, the kind that comes from fighting the same battle your whole life. Boosie's face said it all. He wasn't broken. He was just done playing the same game that never seemed to end. For him, pleading guilty wasn't surrender, it was survival. When the cards are stacked against you, sometimes folding is the only way to stay in the game. But the moment the plea hit the internet, a familiar voice came calling: Charleston White. The man who feeds on chaos like oxygen, who turns pain into punchlines, and who always seems to show up when someone else is down. While Boosie was trying to breathe, Charleston was already online, laughing into the camera. "God answer my prayers," he said. "I prayed that boy would get locked up." That one line lit the internet on fire. Comment sections exploded. Clips spread across TikTok and YouTube within hours. Some people laughed with Charleston, calling him bold and unfiltered. Others called him heartless, accusing him of kicking a man while he was already down. But if there's one thing Charleston White knows better than anyone, it's how to play the internet. Every insult, every laugh, every quote, all of it turned into fuel for his growing empire of attention. While Charleston was streaming from his car, cracking jokes about Boosie's fate, Boosie was back home, silent. He wasn't reacting, wasn't ranting, wasn't posting. Instead, he was resting. That word, rest, had become powerful for him. His Instagram post, "I got rest," wasn't just about sleep. It was about peace, about slowing down before life forced him to stop. Behind the scenes, Boosie's team was trying to keep things steady. His family checked in daily, his fans flooded his DMs with prayers, and even some of his critics admitted that maybe, just maybe, this man deserved a break. After all, Boosie had been running full speed since the early 2000s, from music videos to courtrooms to business ventures. The constant pressure had left scars, both visible and hidden. What most people didn't know was how deeply his health played into it all. Boosie has battled diabetes for years, and that means every ounce of stress, every sleepless night, hits harder. Behind the cameras and the headlines, there's a man pricking his finger, watching his diet, trying to balance fame with survival. That's the side of Boosie the internet rarely talks about. But Charleston White? He didn't care about that side. He never does. His brand thrives on controversy, on turning someone's pain into viral profit. He's done it before, and he's doing it again. He jumps online, tosses a few names around, and watches the algorithm do the rest. Every time Boosie's name comes out of his mouth, his views shoot up. It's a formula, and Charleston knows it works. Still, this feud didn't start with Boosie's plea deal. The roots go back years, all the way to 2022, when Boosie called out Kanye West for that "White Lives Matter" stunt at Paris Fashion Week. Boosie said what many were thinking, that it was disrespectful, tone-deaf, and dangerous. But Charleston, instead of agreeing, flipped it. He mocked Boosie online for trying to be a hero. And that's when the line was drawn. From that day forward, Charleston White made Boosie his personal project. He started mentioning him in interviews, live streams, podcasts, anywhere he could stir things up. It wasn't random. It was calculated. He knew Boosie's name guaranteed clicks, and clicks meant money. Part 2 continues directly after the courthouse storm that closed Part 1. The media frenzy hadn't cooled down yet. Boosie's guilty plea dominated every blog and YouTube thumbnail. But while the world debated whether he was finished or just regrouping, the man himself was rebuilding, quietly. He spent long nights in his studio, scribbling lyrics that felt heavier than anything he'd written before. The people close to him said he barely talked. He'd stare at the boards, listening to beats on loop, shaking his head every few minutes like a man trying to make sense of his own pain. The only words he'd mutter were, "They think it's over. Let 'em think that." Meanwhile, Charleston White was everywhere: podcasts, live streams, Twitter spaces. His voice echoed across the internet like static you couldn't turn off. "That boy Boosie finally met his match," he'd say, puffing on a cigar, eyes glinting with mischief. He'd been talking reckless for years. Now it's Judgment Day. Every post Charleston made found an audience. People clipped his rants and turned them into memes. His YouTube channel exploded in subscribers. For him, Boosie's struggle was business. And in the digital world, business was booming. But Boosie wasn't one to stay down for long. When he finally broke his silence, it wasn't with words, it was with music. Out of nowhere, he dropped a raw freestyle on Instagram Live. No studio polish, no hooks, just emotion pouring out over a slow, haunting beat. "They laugh at my pain, but pain what made me," he rapped. "You speak on my name, that's clout, not bravery." The internet went crazy. Within hours, #BoosieBack was trending. Fans called it his best verse in years. Even critics admitted it had fire in it, that real, unfiltered energy they hadn't heard since his early days. The freestyle hit millions of views in a day and landed all over the blogs that once said he was finished. Charleston couldn't ignore it. He went live again, visibly annoyed. "That song trash," he snapped. "That boy crying on beats now." But this time, his comments were flooded with people defending Boosie. "You sound jealous, Charleston. Boosie moving smart now. Let the man heal." The shift was happening, and Charleston could feel it. A week later, Boosie released a full single, "Rest Easy." The track blended pain, pride, and power in one. He didn't mention Charleston's name once, but every bar felt aimed at him. "They cheer when you fall, then steal your crown. / they love to see you hurt, then post it round. / I pray for peace, but I keep my sound. / I lost too much to ever bow down." It was a statement, not of revenge, but of resurrection. The song caught fire. DJs spun it nonstop. Celebrities reposted it with captions like "Real One Energy." For the first time in months, the narrative had flipped. Boosie wasn't the fallen rapper anymore. He was the fighter who refused to break. Charleston's numbers dipped. His next few live streams barely crossed 10K views, a far cry from his usual traffic. He tried to reignite the flame by claiming he had new receipts that would end Boosie once and for all. But when pressed for proof, he danced around it, deflecting with jokes. The audience wasn't buying it. By now, Boosie's comeback had momentum. He booked shows again, dropped another single, and started hinting at a documentary. Reporters tried baiting him into responding to Charleston directly, but Boosie stayed composed. "Ain't no beef," he said in one interview. "I'm just focused on me. God handling the rest." That quote went viral, not because of the words, but because of his calm delivery. It was the opposite of everything Charleston represented. Boosie wasn't feeding the fire anymore, he was starving it. And yet, karma has its own schedule. 2 weeks later, Charleston went live from a hotel room, claiming someone snitched on his business. He was angry, erratic, talking about fake fans and industry snakes. Viewers noticed his usual confidence was gone. The man who laughed at others' pain was now tasting a bit of it himself. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. As Boosie performed at a sold-out Atlanta show that same weekend, fans screamed his lyrics word for word. Between songs, he paused and said, "When you move with peace, the devil get confused." The crowd erupted, phones flashing, voices chanting his name. It wasn't about Charleston anymore. It was about survival, redemption, and staying true when the world wants you broken. Boosie walked off stage that night with a smile, the kind that comes when a man knows he won a battle without throwing a punch. The internet that once mocked him was now celebrating him. And somewhere, far from the spotlight, Charleston White had finally gone silent. The war was over, and Boosie Badazz had turned pain into purpose.